What's up, guys? Jill here. Welcome back. I am outside about to get on farm chores this morning. We have got my sister and brother-in-law in town for the entire week for Christmas. Christmas is a little different this year, much smaller. So we did something with Nathan's mom a few days ago, but his brother and my sister-in-law and their kids were able to come to town and just spend the week with us. And it's just been so nice, you know, like you don't realize you need that like rejuvenation until you have someone else come and you're like, oh yes, this is good. Like I actually have other adults to talk to. It's just been really, really fun. But my sister-in-law, Ashley, and I, we're going to feed, water all the rabbits, give hay, just all the normal stuff. It is nice to kind of have that extra hand this morning though. And I want to talk to you guys about something. Some sad stuff's been happening on the farm. Some exciting things have been happening on the farm. But first of all, let's just get these rabbits taken care of. So it has actually been relatively warm here the last few days. Yesterday it was like in the high 70s. Today it's really not bad at all. But we did look at the weather and it's supposed to get down to like 19 tomorrow night. So we are going ahead and like putting all the hay and extra bedding and everything in there just to kind of prepare for when it does get really cold. Typically we'll feed hay to the rabbits, but in the summertime, like we're not keeping hay in their cages like for bedding. And really right now during the day they don't need it, but at night I just want to give them that little extra something, that way I can sleep good and not have to be worried about them. So you guys were so kind to help us name our buck, not Taco, but the other tan buck that we were breeding. I thought, well, if we're breeding him, he deserves a name. And so many of you guys suggested Tanner the tan buck, and we thought that that was just so perfect. So that is his name. I'll let you guys see him. He's looking so pretty in all his glory. He's been doing such a good job. Just with like not being really aggressive with our does, but getting the job done. Coco over here, sorry it's so bright, guys. We actually have successfully bred Coco. Hey girl, are you munching? So if some of y'all remember, we were trying to breed Taco and really unsuccessfully. Like Nathan was getting really frustrated. And then the people that we bought him from are like friends of ours, and so they were like, oh well, he's not ready to breed yet. So there was just like some miscommunication, so we ended up just like obviously not trying to press that issue, and really emphasizing on Tanner. Now we had moved him in with our white does, Hannah and Savannah, as the girls called them, the twins. And they are not interested at all. We know they are at the breeding age, but they want nothing to do with it. We're also not gonna like put him in there and see him being like really aggressive and then being put off and just continue to keep doing that. So we've just stopped. Now, you guys have given us such good information. We have watched a ton of the Living Traditions videos that you guys have recommended, and just like talking to our friends, y'all really help us understand that like when the rabbits go into the heat cycle, you need to just pay close attention, and you'll kind of see when that, you know, connection is happening.
Yeah, like Nathan went out and said that he could tell right away they were into each other. And it's interesting how like sometimes they don't want anything to do, but then you know when they do.
Yeah, and so I guess it was whenever you were in town last, Nathan had come out there and Coco was kind of sniffing through, you know, the wire to Taco, and he was, or to Tanner, and he was like, okay, like let's do this.
Let's try.
Yeah, and he came in, y'all, and I wish I could have captured that moment.
He was so happy.
He was like so proud. Like Nathan, the rabbits are Nathan's thing, and he has been so diligent with just like trying to breed them and like figure out all the things. And he came in, he was like, y'all,
who's your rabbit daddy?
Who's your rabbit daddy?
Yes.
We were laughing so hard. And anytime I like come out here and Nathan's trying to breed them, he's like, Joe, you gotta give them space. Like let them have a moment. Yeah. And like he is just getting so invested in it, which is so funny to me, but I actually love it because
yeah, it's sweet.
I see him kind of come alive with the rabbits, how I come alive with the garden, which is so funny.
Yeah, but he came in and you could just tell.
Yeah.
Like he was on cloud nine. Right,
like joy had just filled this man up. Yes. And I think too, when I've been trying to think through like rabbits do it for you, huh? Like, that's the thing that, like, gets you fired up. I realize that when I grow my garden, that is how I provide for my family, and that is how I love my family well. And I'm realizing that these are meat rabbits. This is how Nathan feels like he's doing his part for our family.
Yeah. And he loves, like, the protein. Like, being able to have a source of protein is a big deal.
Right. And I think that for him, he's like, well, you grow the garden and you do all this, and that's how you're contributing. And I feel like Nathan feels purpose in these animals and knowing that I'm doing my part on our homestead, on our farm, to add that level of sustainability. So that's just been really cool to kind of see him come alive. We've actually been talking to Ashley and Blake a lot. They're actually really considering rabbits. So we're trying to have some babies.
Yes, that's been the plan for the breeding, and our daughters are just asking Uncle Nate all the time. Where's the bunnies? When are we getting a bunny? They want a bunny for Christmas.
So Nathan has successfully bred Chocolate. So she is bred all the things. Like, it is 100%. There would be no way she's not bred. So we're really excited. We were going to breed multiple ones at a time, but since it is the end of December, we really don't want to do that. Nathan still has not finished quite everything on the inside of the, we're going to do the inside of the chicken coop with rabbit cages as well, and there's still some things he has to finish out. Also, with the joy that comes with, like, knowing you're going to have life on a farm, there's the negative side to that.
It's been a journey.
It has been a journey. You guys warned us, so there is that. I feel like, thank you, because had you guys not warned us, I would have been devastated.
Because I didn't even know it was a thing. Right.
We did not know it was a thing, but we did have our first death on the farm with babies. We'll actually walk over and look. The girls named her Godzilla, which I know is such a name. When you see her, you'll know why. Godzilla has had babies before. Hannah and Savannah are Godzilla's babies. So a lot of you guys told us that with first-time moms, they will eat their litter, and they just don't know how to care for them well. And that was so, like, what? It's odd to me how an animal that just, like,
eats grass.
Right, just eats grass and plants could do something like that. And so we came out here the other day. This was like last week. I'm kind of late giving you guys the update. I had come out here on a Sunday, fed everybody, all the things. Nathan came home from work on Monday, and he was like, have you went out there and checked on the rabbits today? I was like, well, I mean, I've seen them, but, like, I haven't, went and talked to each of them. And we had 2 dead babies. They were deformed, so one of them didn't grow, like, their front limb, and the other one had something wrong with the back limb. I know that typically having 2 litter, like 2 in a litter, is not common. So I'm not sure if she ate the rest of them and just left them there. I don't know. It was really disturbing, honestly. It was kind of like, why does this happen? Again, super appreciative that you guys kind of gave us that warning. Charlie was very interested, so we had to have that conversation with her about, life and death on a farm and what comes from that. So we have just been trying to take care of her well.
Yeah, it's been good to learn, though, because for someone that wants to have rabbits, and I honestly, you can read and watch things all day long, but until you start to do it and be around it and experience it, like, I would be out of my element. So this has been really nice because I wouldn't know what I was doing. And yes, she ate her babies, and that was incredibly sad, but it was a big learning moment. I feel like learning exactly, each animal is different and how they have their babies.
Yeah, so I came out and checked on her often. So bright. Sorry. Hey.
Look how pretty she is, though.
Yeah, I think I was mainly surprised because this isn't her first time around. But I don't know, like, part of me thinks it's because she knew they were deformed, and, like, that was just her maternal instincts kicking in. So obviously, like, that was, it was incredibly sad. And like Ashley was saying, it was a total learning experience. I questioned, like, why do things happen like this? Like, what could I have done differently? I don't know, like, we are learning. Rabbits are really new to us, and I often say, like, you always need to be at a place where you're teachable and you're continuing to learn. This doesn't seem foreign. We've talked to a lot of people just like, what could we have done differently? Like, she had hay. She also did not like pull her fur. She had no signs of what a typical mother, like 24, 48 hours before birthing, does, just off of, you know, everything people have told us, what we have researched. So I also just think that, like, maybe she was just not, maybe she wasn't prepared to have babies, because there was no fur at all. She hadn't built a nest. Like, there was nothing that would have let us know that she was about to have babies soon.
Yeah.
So we were just total shock, you know, like we know the things to look for. Like, obviously she had hay, but
like her own safe space,
Right.
because that was the thing. Like, we were focusing on wanting to get the boxes on the inside
Right.
built so they wouldn't do that.
Right.
But even still.
Right. And it was just like, it's one of those things, I think you just can take situations like this and learn from it. I don't know what we would have done differently. I don't know that there is anything we could have done differently. I encourage you guys, though, if you're dabbling into a new, you know, type of animal on your farm or anything like that, or even someone like you, like, things happen and you can't beat yourself up over it. Like, she had fresh water, she had fresh food, she had hay and bedding, and obviously, like, Mother Nature is going to do what nature intends to do. Like, her babies weren't well, and I think she probably knew that, and that was the result of it. And although it is incredibly sad, we're just not breeding her. I don't think I'm going to breed her again, because I don't think we need to. And we know we have one bred right now. So we're going to focus on that. We're going to keep a really close eye and really just pray that something like this doesn't happen again. I'm hoping that we will see more, you know, traditional signs of the pulling of the fur, the building of the nest. I've got it down in the calendar. I know when we bred her. I know when to start looking for these signs. We know when to move the nesting box in there and things like that. I don't know. It's just one of those things. It's incredibly sad, but I am looking forward to the life that we can expect, you know, to come from the other rabbit. And I'm hopeful.
Yeah, I think it's just part of the process.
Right,
Like, I think loss with life, there comes loss.
Right. The only other time we have lost a rabbit is all of the rabbits got out. They kicked out their feeding box and all went through the hole that we had cut out for their feeding box. This is when we were just grazing them on grass in the front. And I had to catch them all. And I've been told that rabbits, like, when they have stress, like, they can just immediately die. They do not do well being, like, shooken up. And one of them I caught, and she was fine. And then I went to town to buy groceries, and I came back and she just had died. And I was kind of shaken up by it. I'm like, what happened? Like, she was just fine. Like, I physically held her. And you guys just kind of expressed that's pretty typical in a rabbit, that when they, you know, have stress or anxiety, they just, like, their bodies can't handle it. But don't be discouraged. Like, if something like this happens, it's okay to be sad in it. It's also okay to know that, like, you didn't fail, and there's other opportunities, and Mother Nature just does what it's gonna do. All right, so we have fed, watered, hayed. Now we're gonna go collect eggs.
Yes.
And I have been on that sourdough train.
Oh my gosh, this girl is up on the sourdough all the time.
It is like a child. She told me, she's like, I was really invested in learning until I realized it is like a child. Like, you're always tucking and folding, or you know.
Like, we were waiting to go to bed last night because we needed to stay up and tuck and fold.
We were up until 1 o'clock. If you are not on that right sourdough train, like, baking schedule,
like, you done messed up.
Right. But I wanted to give one to one of our friends for Christmas. And then I actually made one that was like half white flour, half rye, and added some chocolate chips in there for the kids.
The girls are excited about
And then I wanted us to just have one, so I figured that it's the holidays, and that's what you do. You spend time with family, and you bake good food.
And eat all the bread.
Yeah. So actually, this is sad. I feel like I have to tell them this.
Oh yeah, this is really sad.
I've been so committed on this sourdough thing.
Yes.
And I was making a lot of sourdough, and I was pretty much just eating sourdough. Like, there would be so many days where I would tell
her
Nathan,
meal was sourdough.
Right, like sourdough and butter. And I told Nathan, I was like, I've got to stop. Like, I am literally eating sourdough, like, for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And he was like, okay, like, yeah, maybe let's not do that. Well, then she comes to town, and I have this horrible rash on my elbows. And I'm like, can you help me? Like, she's a nurse. And I'm like, can you, like, look at my elbows and, like, tell me what's wrong with me? And it was itching, and it would flare up at night. And she's like, girl,
I think you have a gluten sensitivity.
I was like, no, I done, like, mastered this sourdough thing, and now you're telling me I can't eat bread. And I tell you what, granted, I was probably eating way too much bread for what my body could handle.
And let's not forget about the sugar cookies.
Oh, and I was eating sugar, y'all. There is this local creamery called Loblolly Creamery, and the farm stand sells their cookies. I I've never experienced cookies like this in my life. So I was buying bags and yes. And I would just and they're huge. And I would just make this huge sugar cookie.
And the bread.
And I typically don't do a lot of sugar, and I typically don't ever even do bread, period. So all the sugar, all the gluten, my body was like, no.
Full on hives, broke out, and then you cut it out.
And it completely went away in a week. So I've not eaten sourdough since then, so you guys say a prayer for me because I want to enjoy this as my Christmas meal.
Yes.
And I'm afraid I can't. Bye, chickens. Bye, chickens. Let's see if we got any eggs up in here. They've actually been laying very, very consistently. We've been getting a ton of eggs out of here still. So we have kept the heat lamp on. We have been having really warm days though.
Yeah.
It's dipped down, or we had it a week where it was really, really cold. But overall, it's been warm enough and the light's been actually really well that our chickens are still laying really, really well. So that's been really nice. That's something that we kind of stinks. It's just part of it. I know a lot of people, like Jess's, her chickens have completely quit laying.
Right. I've seen so many people's, they're not laying at all.
So I am fortunate that we have still not had to source out our eggs from another farmer. We've still been, just able to get them here, which is actually really nice. We are still getting stuff out of the garden, like this kale we'll probably be harvesting to eat with Christmas dinner and stuff. The scarlet kale is really not getting that big, but it still tastes really well. Our collards and stuff like that.
This is the bed we sowed, right?
Yeah, so Ashley actually helped me plant all of this. All of those right there are radishes. Down there we've got some cabbages. They're taking a really long time. I came over to the Greenstalk the other day, and most of this that I planted in here was not frost hardy, but I've got some of these lettuces that are actually still hanging on and doing okay. This is my cilantro. Once the spring comes, I think this is just going to bounce back because we've had so many freezing nights and it's still not dead.
Yeah, this is beautiful right here.
Yeah, so Ashley recently just got a Greenstalk. Yes. She lives in, just your typical neighborhood. So she has wanted a Greenstalk for a really long time. She is renting, and her backyard has really mature trees, so doing an in-bed, an in-ground garden or even raised bed garden really isn't ideal, but she has a back deck that's elevated, and Greenstalk is perfect for that.
Yes.
So she's really excited. I'm actually going to go up there closer to the spring and help plant that for her. Gonna do a video just kind of showing you guys from that perspective some of the things you can do and just how creative and figuring out your vision. You need thought even with the Greenstalk. If you're doing container planting, raised bed, or in-ground, you still need to think through what's your purpose, what's your vision behind this, and we're just trying to get a game plan. I know that she's really excited. This is new to her. She's been really wanting to grow food.
Yeah, I'm wanting to, at first I knew that I wanted to have one, but I didn't have a plan for it.
Yeah.
And now I've kind of honed in that I have it. What do I want to grow, and what is what do we want to do with it? And I really want to juice.
Yep.
So I know that I want to get some things that I can juice in it, and that's exciting. Now knowing what I want to do with it, I can't wait for spring to come. I'm ready to plant it.
Well, we were talking about this last night too. I was like, Ashley, you can grow almost everything because, we do lots of kales and carrots and beets and things like that. And you think a beet, you think your traditional beet that gets pretty big. Johnny's makes a baby beet, and it's just this little bitty cute beet that you could grow in those pockets. Great. Instead of doing a long carrot, which you probably still could do that, you can just do these short little baby carrots that don't get very big, but still is really good. You can grow all the kale you could possibly want in there. The only thing we were thinking that she couldn't grow would be a cucumber or something that's binding and trellising like that. But we were even saying too, for her to source that out, it's still relatively cheap. The most expensive things you could grow in that on your back patio, and I get so excited. You guys know I love growing food. I love knowing that this interest has just ignited in her, and I'm I want to be a part of this. I want to help you grow food.
Yes, the sustainability this year obviously has been on everyone's mind, but it's something that I've always loved, just sourcing real food from home.
Yeah.
The idea of that and not having to go to the grocery store, and honestly pesticide, things like that have always, I've worried about at the store. And knowing that I can now grow it in my Greenstalk, in my backyard, and not even think about that, like, that's really exciting.
That is one thing I've loved about this year. I know that there has been lots of challenges, and I thankfully, like, it has not affected my family the way it has, you know, some of you guys, but I'm very mindful of, like, this has been a hard year. But I'm one of those that I always like to look at the best in every situation, and I like to find the lemonade in the lemons. So, you know, I'm thankful that so many people have been awoken to wanting to grow their own food and become sustainable. I feel like if we can raise up a generation that really values growing your own food, knowing how it's sourced, people, like, it's always been in the back of her head, but this has kind of given her that push to, like, okay, I've thought about this, but now I want to put that into action. And I'm really thankful that we've just been able to walk this journey with you guys, encourage you to grow food, you know, or all these other different farming, homesteading, gardening channels. There's so many wonderful channels out there. And if you found any inspiration and you have, you know, decided to say yes to anything, whether it be gardening, containers, raised bed, in-ground, some sort of animal, some sort of sustainability, my hat's off to you guys, because you're truly making lemonade out of lemons, and I think that that's really cool.
Yeah, definitely. And teaching our kids. Like, knowing that I didn't grow up knowing anything about this life. Like, I was raised in the city, or I wasn't raised in the city, but I just didn't know how to grow. My parents didn't teach me. And now knowing that, like, if I will take the time to learn from my family that God bless me with, then I can turn around and teach my 3 girls to grow, and then to think that they can grow their own food like this. Like, that's just empowering. But thank you guys so much for hanging out with us. We're going to go inside and start cooking, get on that sourdough train again. But we appreciate it. The rest of the week, we're just going to be hanging out with our family and enjoying that fellowship. We do not get to see them that often, so that we will not have a video out on Friday. But I wish you guys the merriest of Christmas. I hope that you guys just have a day filled of joy and rejuvenation and reflection on, yes, it has been a hard year, but really think, like, what is that one thing God has taught you through this year? And I pray that you guys just spend a day reflecting on that in the fellowship of your family, no matter what that looks like. If it's over Zoom, if you've got just a small group of people there, I just pray that God would really bless you this Christmas, and we'll talk to you soon.